Hey, good morning. Pulled out a couple ingrown hairs. You said, I'm not trying to start an argument or anything, but I've always felt that the taking of a knee was disrespectful to the anthem and not the flag, in my opinion. Well, historically, did you know that the national anthem is disrespectful to black people, and that's the reason it didn't become the national anthem until 1931? True story. So come here real quick. Let's have a conversation. First up, your feelings are not facts. So in a factual conversation about what is and what isn't, your feelings have no merit. They are feckless. Keep them to yourself. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's take a look at the lyrics of the Star-Spangled Banner. Now, we only sing one verse because the rest of them have been deemed problematic, especially the third verse, which starts off like this. And where is that band who vauntingly swore? And what band are they talking about? This band, the British Corps of Colonial Marines. Pause to read if you like. It all started in the War of 1812 when General Cockburn gave a proclamation, stating that anybody who fought for the British would gain their freedom, and by 1814, about 3,400 enslaved black people signed up to fight for their freedom. And on the 24th of August, 1814, the Colonial Marines beat the brakes off the Americans, and Francis Scott Key saw it. You see, the British not only promised freedom and a land to these black colonial marines, but they also promised refuge to them as well. Pay attention to that word refuge because it's going to come up later. So these black soldiers fought with everything they could, winning battles left and right, even going so far as to burn down the White House. The verse goes on to say, who vauntingly swore that the havoc of war and the battle's confusion, a home and a country should leave us no more. What does vauntingly mean? It means to boast, to brag, or praise excessively. And who was doing this at this time? The British Corps of Colonial Marines who were winning battles in the War of 1812. In total, it was about 4,000 black people bragging about the battles that they had won as they fought for their freedom. The first line of the third stanza of this diss track asks, where they at? And the second line answers, it says, their blood has washed out their foul footsteps pollution. Whose blood are they talking about? Whose blood washed out their foul footsteps pollution? The blood of the British Corps of Colonial Marines, the blood of black people who were fighting for their freedom. It goes on to say that no refuge could save the hireling and slave from the terror of flight or gloom of the grave. See that word refuge again? Who was giving them refuge? The British were. So what or who is a hireling? Well, during this time, a hireling was one who works for hire. And who was that? According to the book Hirelings, African American Workers in Free Labor in Early Maryland, it was the enslaved black people who were sold by white enslavers. And after they sold their enslaved black people, they got mad at the free people of color who were leaving. So in 1719, they passed laws preventing free black people from leaving the state because they wanted somebody to work the land for them because they was too lazy to do it themselves. And in the 1800s, a hireling was used disparagingly for anybody who worked for mercenary motives. What is a mercenary? A mercenary is one that serves merely for wages, or a soldier hired into foreign service. And who were these soldiers hired into foreign service? Enslaved black men who fought in the British Corps of Colonial Marines. So far, the third verse of the national anthem goes a little like this. So where the black people I saw fighting for their freedom, who was bragging about they was gonna beat us? They're dead, and their blood has washed out the pollution that is their footsteps. And the British couldn't even save them from the terror of flight or the gloom of the grave. And the Star-Spangled Banner in triumph doth wave over the land of the free and the home of the brave. You see, the Star-Spangled Banner is a diss track to African Americans who had the audacity to fight for their freedom. And you think kneeling is disrespectful to the anthem. So why did this Star-Spangled diss track become our national anthem? 2 words. White women. This gaggle of Karens were known as the United Daughters of 1812, and they were led by Miss Reuben Ross Holloway, seen here waving both the Confederate flag and the American flag. You see where this is going? So on June 14th, 1931, the National Society of the Daughters of 1812 and the state of Maryland sponsored a ceremony at the War Memorial Plaza in Baltimore to celebrate the new national anthem. The parade was led by a column of Boy Scouts carrying 3 flags: the Stars and Stripes, the red and gold flag of Maryland, and the Stars and Bars of the Army of the Confederate States of America. So why were they flying the flag of traitors? Well, Miss Holloway said it best. The Confederate flag, she declared, was also a star-spangled banner. And in 1917, President Woodrow Wilson made it a national anthem. Now, Woodrow Wilson was a Southern white supremacist and a racist who sympathized with the lost cause narrative. Now, Wilson ran on a platform of fairness and equality, but after he was elected, he was like, forget all that, let's bring the racism. Then in 1919, they started playing the song and singing all the verses at baseball games. But after World War I, people were like, I don't want to sing this anymore. So James Weldon Johnson and his brother wrote Lift Every Voice and Sing as an alternative to the Star-Spangled Banner. Well, racist white people didn't like that. So on March 3rd, 1931, President Hoover signed into law that the Star-Spangled Banner would be the national anthem of the United States of America. That's the same year that James Earl Jones was born. That's right. The Star-Spangled Banner as our national anthem and James Earl Jones are the same age. And it only became our national anthem because of racism. The more you know.